What's up, YouTube? It's your boy John from Project Ellsworth, and I am back with you today for another Top 20 for 2020 list. This month we're doing our top 20 favorite Stephen King adaptations. There's a whole heck of a lot to choose from. Let's get to it. Let me start off by saying I hope everybody's doing well and staying safe, taking care of themselves. Alright, the top 20 for 2020. That is a series created within the horror community by Joe TheHORROman and Jason from Horrific Nightmares. 2 times a month we choose our top 20 favorite films that are in our collection that fall under the umbrella of a chosen subject. Jason chooses those subjects each month and puts a video out. Like I said, this month's top 20 is for Stephen King adaptations, and here is my list. Coming in at number 20 is 1408. This movie's really cool, pretty intense. John Cusack's character loses his daughter, and he begins researching the paranormal and basically chasing ghosts and just doing a lot of research. Eventually, he stays in a room, number 1408, in a hotel where several people have died, 50 plus people have died, most of which don't survive an hour. And he goes in there to check it out, to basically discredit it, if I remember correctly, and things get pretty wild. John Cusack's performance in this movie is pretty kick-ass. It's really, really good. Probably my favorite performance by him ever. Coming in at number 19 is The Dark Half. This is the story. This is written by Stephen King, directed by George Romero. It's about an author who writes murder stories or murder mystery stories, and he writes them under a false name, and the false name is sort of an alter ego, and that alter ego is coming after him. Pretty interesting movie. I did a review for this quite a number of months back. I'll leave the link for that review in the description. You can check it out. Alright, coming in at number 18 is Thinner. This story is about a guy who accidentally kills a gypsy and has a curse put on him that he becomes thinner until he basically dwindles down to nothing. This is what he did look like, and this is what he winds up looking like. So, you get the gist. Pretty cool flick. Alright, coming in at number 17 is The Running Man. I am about due to watch this movie again, too. I haven't seen this in a very long time. But I remember it being pretty cool. Definitely not one of the more known Stephen King novels, but good nonetheless. Early Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. I don't remember what year this was made. There's a whole lot about this. Or 1987. There's a whole lot of that I don't really remember about this movie, but I remember that it really was good. It's a game show hosted by Richard Dawson, and it's more or less a game of survival. It's Arnold Schwarzenegger and what's the woman's name? Maria Conchita Alonso, if I remember correctly. And they team up and they have to survive. There's different people out there trying to kill them. Like I said, it's like a game show. It's almost like old school Hunger Games. It's pretty crazy. Alright, next up is Frank Darabont's adaptation of The Mist. This movie's really cool. Something is coming out of the mist and it's killing people. Basically holding these guys hostages in a store. That's a big part of the movie. The ending of this movie is enough to sincerely almost make you sick. It's pretty wild. Frank Darabont appears a few times in this list of mine. Fantastic director. He also directed, he was the original director of The Walking Dead. So, very, very good, very well made. But I'm telling you, the ending of this movie punches you right in the gut. Alright, coming in at number 15 is the only movie that I don't own, which is 1922, and I don't own it because I've never seen it anywhere to buy it. That's a Netflix original movie, and it's fantastic. It's about a guy who is married, and they have a son. They own a farm, and that's their livelihood. It's their whole life. The wife wants to sell the farm and move back to the city. The husband, under no circumstance, wants to do that. So he takes matters into his own hands. I'll put it that way for those of you who haven't seen it. Go over to Netflix and check that movie out. It's freaking fantastic. It's awesome. All right, next up is The Graveyard Shift, coming in at number 14. I also did a review of this movie. I'll put that down in the comment section below. This is pretty cool. New dude moves into town and takes a job working the graveyard shift at like an old mill, and some pretty crazy stuff going on in there. Really cool flick. Definitely check it out if you get a chance. Graveyard Shift. I think Shout Factory or Scream Factory is getting ready to put out a really nice release of this, unless it just came out. I really don't remember, but I know that I'm expecting to pick that up. All right, next up at number 13 is Salem's Lot. This is a really cool steelbook that I picked up. Anyway, back to the movie. That is about a vampire. Somebody spots a vampire living in a house, and they're suspecting that there's vampires there, and he's being a little bit too nosy. Pretty cool vampire story. This was a made-for-TV movie. Really good, though. I saw that when I was pretty young, and I remember there's some imaging in that movie that really disturbed me. The vampire is absolutely based on Nosferatu. He's got that same kind of look to him. The same kind of bluish skin with the pointy teeth and pointy nose and ears. Pretty wild looking. Next up at number 12 is Pet Sematary, the original, not the remake. This is really cool. I'm sure you all know the story of Pet Sematary. It's been told twice now. This is if an animal dies, they can take this animal and bury it in the pet cemetery, and it will come back to life, just like Old Church did right there. But unfortunately, something else comes back to life in this movie that was buried there that shouldn't have been. Really, really cool, really intense. Fred Gwynn's in that movie. Herman Munster. All right, next up is not horror. It is Stand By Me. Love this movie. Really cool cast here. Will Wheaton, River Phoenix, Corey Feldman, Jerry O'Connell, and Kiefer Sutherland. Really good movie. It's a coming-of-age type story. These four boys are bullied by Kiefer Sutherland's character. They catch wind that there is a dead body way down off the railroad tracks. A kid got hit by a car. Hit by a train and killed. These guys decide to go look for that body, and along the way, it's a coming-of-age story. Really, really cool. I would assume that a lot of you have seen this movie as well. But if you haven't, check this out. It's really good. It's different. Next up, at number 10, is Apt Pupil. I don't hear nearly enough people in the horror community talking about this movie. This kid finds this guy living in his neighborhood, and this guy is an escaped Nazi. This movie is dark and twisted, and this kid is an evil little bastard. If you haven't seen that movie, find that and check it out. That movie's fantastic, and it could easily be higher up on my list. All right, coming in at number 9 is The Possessed Car, Christine. Here's another one that's really good. Directed by Mr. Carpenter. Awesome movie. It is the story of a possessed car and its owner. I don't remember what the kid's name was in the movie. And I don't have my glasses sitting right here to look either. But anyway, it's about a possessed car. The kid falls in love with his car, and he becomes possessed, obsessed with his possessed car. Really cool flick. I'm sure everybody out there has seen that one too. I have to assume that just about everybody out there has seen all of these movies. Especially something like Christine. Everybody knows that flick. All right, next up is James Caan and Kathy Bates in Misery. Stephen King himself considers this to be his favorite adaptation of his works. This movie's crazy. James Caan's character is an author. And Kathy Bates' character, Annie Wilkes is her name, is a huge fan of his, and she's obsessed with his character, Misery, from his novels. He gets in a car accident, she finds him, and she is nursing him back to health, but she's basically holding him hostage. Really crazy movie. Unbelievable sledgehammer scene in that movie. Check Misery out if you haven't seen it, but again, I'm assuming you have. All right, next up is Number 7 is Silver Bullet. Old Corey Haim flick. Gary Busey's in this movie. Gary Busey is about as crazy as a human can get, but damn, that dude can act. And this is a really good example of it. He's awesome in this movie. Corey Feldman's in a wheelchair. That is not. That looks like a big cat. That doesn't look like a werewolf. It looks like an angry kitty. But it's a werewolf movie. There is. I almost gave the whole plot to you. It's a werewolf movie, and Corey Haim's character thinks he knows who the werewolf is. It's really good. Watch Silver Bullet. This is I think one of the best werewolf movies of all time. It's awesome. All right. And this is from like a little thin paper book called Cycle of the Werewolf. It's awesome what people can do. All right, coming in at number 6. I'm rambling. Tom Hanks in The Green Mile, also not a horror movie. This is basically like about a giant medicine man. Tom Hanks works in a prison. He's a prison guard, and they bring in a prisoner one day who has been accused of murder. He's on death row, which is what The Green Mile is. It's death row. They're getting ready to ride the lightning. And a few things take place in this movie that tell Tom Hanks and his co-workers that this guy very well may not be guilty, and there's something very special about him. This movie, if you want a tearjerker, like a really good cry at the end of a movie, check The Green Mile out. It's phenomenal. Okay, next up, number 5 is Cujo. I really wish I had this on Blu-ray or like a really nice Scream Factory release of this movie. This is one of my favorite Stephen King movies, easily. I mean, no question about it. This also could easily be higher on this list. Cujo is very basic. It's a dog, a giant Saint Bernard, who gets bitten by a bat and he contracts rabies. And this is the downfall of this dog, where he's losing his mind and he's got a woman and her son trapped in a car. Most of the story is a woman and her son trapped in a car, but it's friggin' awesome. It's intense. Very, very good movie, and we need a better release of that movie. And if it's out there, leave it in the comment section below as to where I can find it. All right, next up at number 4 is Carrie. I love this movie. This is my introduction to Stephen King right here. Not his books, not any of his other movies. It's Carrie. I remember watching this movie and being completely freaked out when I was a kid by several things. The ending of this movie has a jump scare that to this day I know it's coming. I've seen it a million times and it still gives me the willies. The willies. It still makes me jump when I say it and I know it's coming. Sissy Spacek could not have cast someone better for the starring role of this movie. She's perfect. The scenes in this movie where she's covered in blood and there's flames all over the gymnasium at the prom, the look on her face is nightmare fuel. That's what a horror movie is supposed to be, right there. Fantastic movie. Moving on. I like Carrie a little bit. Moving on is the remake of It that came out a couple years ago. I think 2017, if I'm not mistaken. This is wonderful. I think that the Tim Curry performance as Pennywise in the old 1990 or 91 made-for-TV movie was commendable. I thought he was fantastic. But as a whole, this movie is far superior, in my opinion, than that one was. Or is. That's an okay movie. Tim Curry was fantastic as Pennywise, but at no point at all is that movie ever scary. I think that leans more towards corny. I like it for what it is. I have nothing but respect for it. Like I said, Tim Curry was fantastic as Pennywise, but Bill Skarsgård in this movie as Pennywise is terrifying. And all of the kids that are in this movie At this point, it's all kids. The made-for-TV movie is the combination of the kids as well as them as adults. This is all just kids, and all of the kids in this were outstanding. They did a fantastic job. Great casting. Again, Skarsgård in this movie is next level creepy and scary. Just very, very well made movie. Obviously, there was a chapter 2 that came out that I didn't like nearly as much as this one. I thought it was alright, but it wasn't as good as this one was. This is spectacular. Again, I have to assume that all of you have seen this, but if you haven't, go get this thing now and watch it. It's wonderful. Alright, coming in at number 2, The Shining. A lot of people have very mixed emotions about this movie, and I completely understand why, because this thing strays incredibly far from the book, but this guy's performance in this movie, Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance, is legendary. It's next level spectacular. This does stray. I've read the book, and I've seen the TV miniseries that was much closer to the book, but this is not a top 20 list of movies that are the closest to the book. They're your top 20 favorite Stephen King adaptations. Well, this is Stanley Kubrick's adaptation of Stephen King's book, and this movie is phenomenal. It is not close to the book. The book is much different. If you want the book, there's a miniseries that was made a few years back that's also very, very good, but this is a whole different ball game. This is one of my top 10 favorite movies of all time, let alone Stephen King movies. I love The Shining. The Overlook Hotel is great. All of the cast in this movie was great. Jack Nicholson, Shelley Duvall, the little kid that played Danny. I don't remember his name. Scatman Crothers. This whole movie, everything about it is pure creepy. The scene in this movie where Jack Nicholson goes to that hotel room and that good-looking naked chick turns out to be that dead, rotted old lady, it's still to this, every time I watch it, it makes the hair on the back of my neck stand up. All right. The hair on the back of my neck. Coming in at number 1, may surprise a lot of people, it's The Shawshank Redemption. This movie is wonderful. Not a horror movie. It's a horrific situation. I mean, true life type of horrible stuff. This is not killer clowns or ghosts or killer dogs or anything like that. That's a guy who's falsely accused of murder and gets sent to prison for life. And it is unbelievable. The story of Andy Dufresne, Morgan Freeman, and Tim Robbins. Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins are wonderful in that movie. It's fantastic. The actual movie, I think, is The Shawshank Redemption and Rita Hayworth and The Shawshank Redemption. It's a short story in, I think the book was different seasons, if I remember, or 4 seasons, something like that. I read it, but it was 30 years ago, if that, or if not more. It was a long time ago. This movie is wonderful. If you haven't seen this movie, and this is something I actually slept on for a very long time. Many years ago, I was a member of the Stephen King Movie Club, where once a month they would send me VHS tapes of Stephen King adaptations, and I got that and didn't watch it. I didn't watch that. I never watched that VHS tape. I don't think I ever watched it. But after I received that and it sat on my shelf and collected dust forever, I watched it on TV one day. And I was like, all right, pause, time out, and stopped watching it because of how good it was. But I didn't want to watch it all cut up and edited. So I actually went out and bought this DVD and was completely blown away by it. That thing sat in my house in a case 10 feet from me for years without me watching it. And after I finally watched it, I felt like a fool. That movie is outstanding. Definitely not a horror movie. More realistic, horrible situation or horrifying situation, but not like jump scare, bloody murder type of horror. Fantastic. That movie deserves all the praise that it's gotten over the years. There can't be enough said about how good The Shawshank Redemption is. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I know all of that was kind of long-winded, but yeah, it is what it is. I'm going to go. If you guys like this video, and I'm going to put links to Jason from Horrific Nightmares and Joe the Horror Man down in the comments as well. Those are the dudes who came up with this top 20 for 2020 concept. They're both great guys. Jump over to their channels and give them a subscribe. Check out some of their stuff. We all subscribe to them for good reason. They have great channels. And they're great dudes. So now I'm done talking. I am going to get out of here. If you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up. If you really like this video and you've been enjoying my content up to this point, please do me a huge personal favor. Click that subscribe button and ring that notification bell. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. Have a kick-ass day. And thank you for watching. Watch The Shawshank Redemption. It's awesome. Later, folks.